Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is cognitive dissonance. When you're trying to hold contradictory information all at the same time. Anyway, there's lots of that going around, so I thought it would be an interesting conversation. But before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present and let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing every cell, every organ. And as you exhale, exhale any tension or stress, fatigue, negativity. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, electrifying, energizing every electron, every molecule, lighting up your cells, illuminating you, and bringing that glow from the inside out. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension or stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and softly, softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel that wonderful tickling and tingling sensation. And just bring yourselves present to be in your body in this moment, right here, right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Great to be back with you. It's such a privilege and pleasure to have these morning opportunities to connect. And today's topic is cognitive dissonance. It's like when you're trying to hold opposites in your mind and make sense of them. And I think we've had lots and lots of experience with that through this COVID adventure, in that a friend was talking yesterday and talking about how bizarre it is to have, for instance, a stadium filled with 40,000 people in one state in the country, and in another state in the country to not even at the same time to not even be able to go into a restaurant. That the 40,000 people aren't wearing masks, and the restaurant isn't even allowing people inside. So, this is the kind of polarities that we hold with so many instances right now in our culture. So, another another example would be, um, let's see, boy, the climate change, right? So there's all kinds of evidence that humans have a deep influence on climate change and that we can take action to actually reverse it. And then there's another whole school of thought that says climate change has nothing to do with human beings. It's a natural cycle. The truth may be both. It may be that there is a natural cycle of climate change and humans have a profound impact on the climate. And I, for one, believe that we absolutely do have a profound impact, although we may not be the exclusive cause of climate change. But the question is, how do we navigate these polarities? In the beginning of COVID, we were told by Dr. Fauci that we shouldn't bother with masks, that it didn't make a difference. And then masks became the thing, the way that we were going to help protect ourselves. So when in the face of contradiction, how do we find our way? How do we navigate through through these crazy uh, serpentines of what's real and what's not real? And I think that this is a topic, the topic of what's real and what's not real, Good morning, Gia. Wonderful to have you here. I'm so glad to see you here. And good morning, Rosalind. Welcome, welcome. I hope you had a good birthday, Rosalind. So we're talking about cognitive dissonance when you're trying to hold two realities or two alternate perspectives at the same time. Good morning, Dennis. Welcome, welcome. So this idea of what's real and what's not real, it's something that I have wrestled with for the better part of my life, and what's true, what's not true. So we get to figure out how do we navigate our way through these these opposing quote unquote realities. It's pretty challenging, right? And so how do you like when here's another kind of opposing reality. You have what we're hearing so much about, the 1%, right? These people that have more money than 99% of the rest of humanity, and at the same time that there are people that have uh, uncountable amounts of money. There are people that don't have enough to eat. And I don't know how to create balance there. I don't know how to reconcile these extremes or these oppositions or uh, um, reflections. They're just, there are so many. We hear lots of different information around the vaccines and around our health and how to maintain our health, and what's good for us and what's not good for us, et cetera, et cetera. Good morning, Andrea. Welcome. Great to have you here. We are talking about cognitive dissonance. I'm wondering if you have experience of this when you hear opposing news reports, where you are aware of, I've seen it politically over and over and over again, where one party will advocate strongly for something that is in their favor, and then when the balance of power shifts, or the other party has the opportunity to take advantage of that same vantage point, the original party then denies it, or then fights against the very things they were advocating for. Good morning, Christina. Welcome. I love having all you guys here that I recognize, and all the new people that show up that we welcome into this wonderful morning thinkathon that we have together. So, I find I find it so interesting to be trying to find a way to navigate through what looks pretty obviously insane to me, in terms of, ow, Maggie, no biting. No, 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 no. She just really nipped me. No, no, no biting. Um, Sometimes she has to have a timeout. I'm not squeezing her, I'm just holding her, but she gets still, and that's a good thing. It sort of is a break in the behavior, and then we can just let her go and hope that she is chilled. Anyway, yeah, how do we navigate these crazy situations where two sides are like, this is pretty funny actually. When my brother was a kid, he got caught doing something red-handed, just caught red-handed doing something. And I'm like, I don't know if he had a cigarette or something like that. And he was standing there with the cigarette, and my father was like, you're not allowed to be smoking, and you're standing there holding a cigarette. And my brother says, I'm not holding a cigarette. And he insisted that he was not holding a cigarette or whatever, something like that, along that line. And it was just like, oh my gosh, how do you interact with that kind of crazy, right? Gia says, oh, it's difficult to choose, Mira, when everyone is constantly coming up with their opinions about one same thing. God, it's so confusing and scary which one to choose, and what if it scares even more. Choose, and what if scares even more. Yes. So it is interesting to try and choose, or try and navigate what's true, what's not true, right? I mean, I have done a bunch of reading on the vaccines, and I have seen a lot of information that is contradictory, and I I don't take a stand on what's true and what's not true, but based on the information that I am able to glean, I make my best assessment for myself. I'm not advocating for other people, but what I do see is that there is all kinds of lobbying, so to speak, for different vantage points. And I see it not just with vaccines, but like the medical perspective on things, but I see it also in. It's really interesting in, how about in dietary approaches to things, all these ideas about what's supposed to be the best way to take care of ourselves. Some people are radically vegan, some people are radically meat eaters, some people are radically something else, and everybody's right. And these things just don't jive, because they are kind of opposites. And it's so fascinating to me. Um, it's so fascinating to me to see how we manage to navigate this crazy, crazy, crazy world. So Rosalind says, she's laughing at Maggie. Speaking of crazy situations, I avoid watching those commercials about suffering animals. It breaks my heart and hard to watch. How do we deal with that? Often it's easy to just look away. What other action can one do when the pattern is is habit? When the pattern is how to move through uncomfortableness. Yeah. So this is a really important question, Rosalind, a hugely important question, because I find myself doing the same things. There are some things that I just cannot hold. I cannot hold space for. And I don't know how to be present to some things in the world, like um, the shootings in Boulder. A friend of mine knows several people who died, and also knows the person who was the shooter. Talk about cognitive dissonance. How do you hold that? How do you hold that in your head and your heart? And how do you hold compassion for the pain that people experience? It's, on one hand, even, I don't want to rush by this because it's such an important and profound question. I don't know how to hold that space. Sometimes the world knocks me to my knees, just trying to hold what goes on. I know around the environmental issues, this is a big passion for me. And I do believe that we are in a planetary emergency that requires our immediate and concentrated action. And there's in that circumstance as well, holding these polarities of we're rocketing toward a path of destruction and seeing how that is happening and continuing and has incredible momentum. And on the other hand, what I'm looking to propagate, and the only way that I know how to hold the world at this moment in that context is in a context of possibility, that we have tools, that we have the capability, that we have the know-how, and all we need is the will, the collective will to turn it around. So these are polarities. How do you hold the horror and the hope all at once? This is a really, really interesting thing. So, Christina, thank you so much for asking. Christina's asking, speaking of sustainability, will your show be on tomorrow? So this show, I keep teasing you guys with it. I didn't mention it this week yet because I wasn't sure if I'm going on tomorrow. As it happened, last night, I ended up taking my mom to the emergency room, and she's in the hospital now. She didn't have a fall. She has just ongoing, she's 90 years old, my mom, and she still drives and she still lives by herself. And she's pretty remarkable in that way, but she does have a bunch of health challenges. And finally, yesterday, she got in touch with me and asked me to come over, and we ended up having her go to the hospital. So I was going to start the show tomorrow, but I'm not. I'm going to wait till next week because I am running back and forth to the hospital, and just really wanting to be able to be there for her without adding extra things on my plate at this moment. So if you could direct your prayers for her improved health, that would be so wonderful. And I would be very grateful for that. So thank you, Christina. Thank you. So yeah, we just want her to be able to breathe easy. She had some heart issues, and she's just had a lot of trouble breathing lately, and some other things. So your prayers are greatly appreciated. So yeah, these things that are polarities. Okay, so here, holding these polarities. So here, my mom's in the hospital, and I have a lot of feelings, obviously, about that. And I'm here with you, and I have a lot of really positive, wonderful feelings about this opportunity as well. So, holding all of these polarities at the same time, how do we be? It's really quite remarkable that human beings have the capacity to be navigating these contradictions, these oppositions, these differences, not always oppositions, but thank you, Gia. Thank you for your prayers for my mom, and same from Andrea and Christina. Thank you so much. So, yeah, we were talking about holding these polarities, horror, hope. How do we do that? And Rosalind says, I steer clear of conversations about certain subjects is how I cope, or hide my belief when someone voices their opposite polarity. This is an interesting thing too that came up in some work with a client yesterday about keeping our voices quiet because of disagreement. It's like sometimes it's just not worth the energy to have a debate or a discussion And what we do is we just stay quiet, which kind of shuts us down. Um, and we get to gauge, is it shutting ourselves down, or is it just a prudent choice in that moment? Like, do I really want to go down this road? Is this a hill I want to die on, kind of thing? Um, I There are certain things that I can't, I don't know how to hold. There's a certain amount of grief and pain that I don't know how to hold. And I'm better at being the optimist. You know, I don't think I'm in denial about the horrors in the world. And I choose to direct my focus elsewhere because that's where I have the greatest capacity to make a difference. Some people are able to hold the pain of the world in a different way, like the pain of individuals, and are able to just get right in the thick of it, right in the mix. For me, the place I choose to go is into the climate stuff and find positive solutions. We all have our different capacities. You know, it's not going to serve the world if I'm incapacitated by grief and despair, right? So if I can find ways to direct my focus that are empowering to me, that enable me to be empowering to others, then that's my greater service, right? We get to look at our own capacities. Christina says, in response to Rosalind's talking about steering clear of conversations, I do as well in some areas, just too tiring. I have learned to fit in something more healthy, whether mind, body, or spirit, so I don't just say stagnant and stewing. So, you know, this is a really good point. It is exhausting to be trying to feel the negativity or the despair, right? So for me, like this, the reason that a lot of people, I think, avoid the whole sustainability conversation is because they feel like it's hopeless. And so they'd rather just not look. I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. And so what I recognized is there's tons of amazing, wonderful possibilities and technologies and actions and capacities and solutions that are available. And so I focus on, hey, turn this way. Look, there's really hope. This is something we can get behind. This is something we can do. It's not hopeless. We don't have to stay stagnant and stewing, right? And we don't have to be denying this. We can actually look at it head on and say, hey, guess what? We're really resourceful. We're really resilient. We really can find solutions that if we just get active, we can make this thing happen. And so at the same time that I hold that, which I do in my deepest heart of hearts, I also recognize the challenge of that stagnant and stewing mindset and overcoming the denial of something that people feel so overwhelmed by. You know, and I know other people that are able to do that in arenas where I can't. You know, in arenas that are just too emotionally fraught for me, that I can't find that hopefulness. I become overwhelmed. So we each have our the channel that we best tune into and broadcast, right? So Rosalind says, being aware of the distress would be the first step of addressing it. Exactly. Growing or taking action can follow and may or may not resolve over time, but the little actions we focus on can provide self with some resolve. Exactly. So this is also another really powerful point. You guys are so awesome in bringing these things to our awareness here. So the first the in supporting people in finding their purpose, their mission, their vision for their lives on this planet, the big question that I ask people is, what breaks your heart? And there are different things that break different people's hearts, like for me, and I've said this before, for me, when I think about, or anytime I thought about what we were doing to this planet, I would just break down in tears. And so that broke my heart. I needed to find, I couldn't live with the despair around that. So I started looking for solutions. And so the despair or the distress is the impetus to do something, or to look at a solution. And then the empowerment that comes from taking action in the face of something that breaks your heart is is very life affirming. And I believe that is one of the primary keys, the what breaks your heart, that's one of the primary keys to what our mission, our individual mission or purpose is for being here. And the thing is that we get to step up to and into that calling. And I think I want to talk about, maybe tomorrow we'll talk about stepping up and into your calling, because I had this conversation with one of my clients who is an extraordinary human being doing remarkable things on this planet, and it's just an incredible heart, and having this epic kind of life. And I was talking to them about stepping up and into, like, creating this invocation for their purpose, that calls them into their highest expression. And this person, who is already so much of a force of good on this planet, said, I'm scared, like, what it is to step into that fullest expression. And I was overjoyed to hear this person who is already so much a force on this planet, to hear them say that. Because when you're scared, when your heart goes races at the thought of stepping up and into this purpose, that's what you came here for. So maybe we'll talk more about that tomorrow. And anyway, Rosalind, I agree with you. Every action, small or grand, toward addressing the things that break our heart, is something that gives us life. And Rosalind says, I like that question, the question of what breaks your heart. Yeah, yeah. It's a really powerful question. And Rosalind goes on to say, when addressing someone's desire to find purpose in life, what breaks your heart? Yes, yes. Because when we look to resolve the things that break our heart, that gives us the deepest sense of purpose. When we can create something positive in the face of that, it's the most empowering thing I know. And Christina says, we are reading the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins in book club. I never heard of it. I'm going to start using it more with coming up solutions. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and literally take a step forward, or make a statement to move it forward. That sounds brilliant. So the 5-second rule, a 5-second rule to take action. I love it. And you know what? I want to acknowledge all of you guys, because from what you've shared, I know that you're all taking action toward the things in life that break your heart, to make a difference. And Christina is replying to Rosalind. Yes, that makes so much sense. And yeah, so mission, purpose. We started out with cognitive dissonance, and trying to make sense of all the things that just don't jive. That, it's like, what's real, what's not real, how do we do this? Gia says, even I follow Mel Robbins. Her 5 second rule is awesome. Beautiful, Gia. Well, now you guys are inspiring me to check this out. Anyway, um, I love that we came around to mission, passion, and purpose. And maybe we get to filter out some of that noise, some of that dissonance, right? And I think I'm going to call it a day today. So much love to you and so much gratitude for the time that we spend together. And I truly, deeply appreciate you. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern. And please, please do check out the Enlightened World Network community on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, Enlightened World Living, and At One with the Earth. And oh, it's so. How about this? So Christina says the book club is Wednesdays at 1 at Soul Food Book Club on Enlightened World Network. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Gia, and thank you all. So much love to you. Until next time. Looking